only some of them still has survived, and others just went extinct. Um, so today, dinosaurs are a diverse group of reptiles of the Dinosauria. They existed through most of the Mesozoic era, first appearing early in the Triassic period, and they became the dominant terrestrial vertebrates after the Triassic-Jurassic extinction event that happened 201 million years ago, and their dominance continued throughout the Jurassic and the Cretaceous period. Now, the fossil record shows that birds are feathered dinosaurs, having evolved from earlier theropods during the late Jurassic epoch, and they are the only and they are the only dinosaur lineage known to have survived the Cretaceous Paleogene extinction event that happened approximately 66 million years ago. Now, dinosaurs can therefore be divided into avian dinosaurs, birds, and the extinct non-avian dinosaurs, which are all dinosaurs that are not birds. Now, dinosaurs are varied from taxonomic, morphological, and ecological standpoints. Now, birds at over 11,000 living species are among the most diverse group of vertebrates. Now, using fossil evidence, paleontologists have identified over 900 distinct genera and more than about 1,000 different species of non-avian dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are represented on every continent by both extant species birds and fossil remains. Now, through most of the 20th century, before birds were recognized as dinosaurs, most of the scientific community believed dinosaurs to have been sluggish and cold-blooded. And most research conducted since the 1970s, however, was indicated that dinosaurs were active animals with elevated metabolisms and numerous adaptations for social interaction. Now, some dinosaurs were herbivorous and others were carnivorous. Evidence suggests that all dinosaurs were egg-laying and that nest building was a trait shared by many dinosaurs, both that were avian and non-avian dinosaurs. And now, if you look here, you can see some of the dinosaur bones that are up in museums like these. So you got a theropod, a sauropod, according to this thing here. Oh shit, fucker. Oh shit. Okay, let me go back. I think I accidentally closed that out. Okay, hold on. Let me get back into that. I accidentally hit something and closed it out. So here you got a theropod, a sauropod, a large theropod, which is the Tyrannosaurus Rex. The Tyrannosaurus Rex is the one to the right. At the second photo down on the right, which would be this one right here. That's the T Rex, which are both not bad. Okay, so now we got here. Now, dinosaurs were ancestrally bipedal. Many extinct groups included quadrupedal species, and some were able to shift between these stances. Oh man, that burns. Okay. Hello for the people tuning in. So they were able to elaborate display structures such as horns or crests are common to all dinosaur groups, and some extinct groups developed skeletal modifications such as bony armor and spines. And while the dinosaurs' modern-day surviving avian lineage birds are generally small due to the constraints of flight, many non-avian dinosaurs were large-bodied, The largest sauropod dinosaurs are estimated to have reached lengths of about 130 feet and heights of 59 feet, and they were the largest land animals at that time. Now, the first dinosaur fossils were recognized in the early 19th century, with the name dinosaur meaning terrible lizard, being coined by Sir Richard Owen in 1842 to refer to these great fossil lizards. And since then, mounted fossil dinosaur skeletons have been major attractions at museums worldwide, and dinosaurs have become an enduring part of popular culture, especially in movies like Jurassic Park. Um, Now, the large sizes of some dinosaurs, as well as their seemingly monstrous and fantastic nature, have ensured their regular appearance in best-selling books and films such as the Jurassic Park movie franchise. Um, Persistent public enthusiasm for the animals has resulted in significant funding for dinosaur science, and new discoveries are regularly covered by the media. And if you look over here to the right, you see pictures of birds here, and birds are classified as feathered dinosaurs. So you look at top there. It looks one looks like a duck, and the other one looks like a heron, and one looks like an eagle. I forget what the other one is. So it says birds here are avian dinosaurs, and phylogenetic taxonomy includes over 11,000 extant species in the group Dinosauria. So under phylogenetic nomenclature, dinosaurs are usually defined as the group consisting of the most recent common ancestor, Merca, of Triceratops and modern birds, Neonifs, Neonifs or something like that, and all its descendants. It has also been suggested that Dinosauria be defined with respect to the Merca of Megalosaurus and Iguanodon, because these were two of the three genera cited by Richard Owen when he recognized the Dinosauria. Now, both definitions cover the same known genre. Dinosauria equals Orna Ornithia, or Star or Saurasha. I'm not sure if I said that right. Now, this includes major groups such as the ankylosaurians, the armored herbivorous quadrupeds. Then you got Stegosaurus, which is the plated herbivorous quadrupeds, and the cerato- cera ceratopsians, bipedal or quadruple herbivores with neck frills, um, and so on and so on. Now, birds are the sole surviving dinosaurs in tradition. Taxonomy, birds were considered a separate class that had evolved from dinosaurs. However, most contemporary paleontologists reject traditional style of classification based on the anatomical similarity in favor of the phylogenetic taxonomy based on deduced ancestry, in which each group is defined as well as all descendants of a given founding genus. Birds belong to the dinosaur subgroup Mi- um, Moneratopa, which are Colosauros, which are theropods, which are also saurischians. Now, research by Matthew G. Barron, David B. Norman, and Paul M. Barrett in 2017 suggested a radical version of dinosaurian systematics, basically. Now, phylogenetic analysis by Barron recovered the Orniscithia as being closer to the theropod than the sauropod Morphea, as opposed to the traditional union of theropods with the sauropodomorphous, sauropodomorphs. Now this would cause sauropods. So this would cause sauropods and kin to fall outside traditional dinosaurs, so that they may redefine Dinosauria as the last common ancestor of the Triceratops horridus. Um, and all of its descendants, and to ensure that sauropods and kin remain included as dinosaurs, they also resurrected the clade or the ornith scelidia to refer to the group containing the theropoda. This is a Triceratops skeleton that's actually housed in the National History Museum of Los Angeles County. Now, excuse me. Now, using one of the above definitions, dinosaurs can generally be described as archosaurs with hind limbs held erect beneath the body. Now, other prehistoric animals, including the pterosaurs, mosasaurs, ichthyosaurs, the plesiosaurs, and the dimetrodon, popularly conceived as dinosaurs, were popularly conceived of as dinosaurs that are not taxonomically classified as one as being them. The pterosaurs are distantly related to dinosaurs, being members of the clade Ornithodira. The other groups mentioned are like dinosaurs and pterosaurs, members of the Cer- Cerocida, the reptile and bird clade, except the Dimetrodon, which is a synapside. None of them had the erect hind limb posture characteristic of any true dinosaur. Dinosaurs were the dominant terrestrial vertebrates of the Mesozoic era, especially the Jurassic and Cretaceous period. Other groups of animals were restricted in size and niches, like mammals, for example, rarely exceeded the size of a domestic cat, and they were generally rodent-sized carnivores of some small prey. Dinosaurs have always been recognized as an extremely varied group. Now, over 900 non-avian dinosaur genera have been confidently identified back in 2018, with 1,124 species as of 2016. Estimates put the total number of dinosaur genera preserved in the fossil record at 1,850, nearly 75% still undiscovered, and the number that ever existed in or out of the fossil record at 3,400. A 2016 estimate put the number of dinosaur species living in the Mesozoic area at about 1,543 to 2,468, compared to the number of modern day birds, avian dinosaurs, at 10,806. Extinct dinosaurs, as well as modern birds, include the genera that are herbivorous and others carnivorous, including seed eaters, fish eaters, insectivores, and omnivores. While dinosaurs were ancestrally bipedal, as are all modern birds, some evolved into quadrupeds, and such as the iguanodon could walk as easily on two or four legs. Now you had the cranial modifications like horns and crests that are common dinosaurian traits, and some extinct species had bony armor. Although the best known genera are remarkable for their large size, Many Mesozoic dinosaurs were human-sized or smaller, and modern birds are generally small in size. Dinosaurs today inhabit every continent, and fossils show that they had achieved global distribution by the early Jurassic epoch at latest. Now, modern birds inhabit most available habitats, from terrestrial to marine, and there is evidence that some non-avian dinosaurs, such as the Microraptor, could fly or at least glide, and others, such as Spinosaurids, had semi-aquatic habits, which means they were able to live on land and in water. Now, recent discoveries have made it more difficult to present a universally agreed upon list of their distinguishing features, nearly all dinosaurs discovered so far share certain modifications to the ancestral Archosaurian skeleton, or they are clearly descendants of older dinosaurs showing these modifications. Although some later groups of dinosaurs featured further modified versions of these traits, they are considered typical for Dinosauria. The earliest dinosaurs had them and passed them on to the descendants, and such modifications originated in the most recent common ancestor of a certain taxonomic group, or they are called the synapomorphies of such a group. A detailed assessment of Archosaur interrelations by Sterling Nesbitt confirmed or found the following 12 unambiguous synapomorphies, some previously known. In the skull, a sub a in the skull, a supratemporal fossa excavation is present in the front of the supratemporal fenestra, the main opening in the rear skull in the skull roof. Um, e, epa, um, Apophyses, not sure if I said that one right. Obliquely a backward pointing process on the rear top corners of the anterior front neck vertebrae behind the atlas and axius, the first two neck vertebrae, and then you got the apex of a deltal pectoral crest, and then so on and so on. But Nesbitt found a number of further potential synapomorphies and discounted a number of synapomorphies previously suggested. Now, some of these are also present in the Silosaurids, which Nesbitt recovered as a sister group to Dinosauria, including a large anterior trochanter metatarsals 2 and 4 of subsequent length, reduced contact between the ischium and pubis, the presence of a menial crest on the tibia and of an ascending process on the astragalus, and many others. A variety of other skeletal features are shared by dinosaurs, however, because they are either common to other groups of archosaurs, or they were not present in all early dinosaurs. Now, however, because they're either common to other groups of archosaurs, or they were not present in early dinosaurs, these features are not xenomorphies. Now, for example, as the diapsids, dinosaurs ancestrally had two pairs of infratemporal fenestrae, openings in the skull behind the eyes, and as members of the diapsid group Archosauria, they had traditional openings in the snout and lower jaw. Additionally, several characteristics once thought to be xenomorphies are now known to have appeared before dinosaurs, or they were absent in the earliest dinosaurs, and independently they were evolved by different dinosaur groups. Now, these include an elongated scapula or shoulder blade, a sacrum composed of three or four fused vertebrae, and three are found in some other archosaurs, but only two are found in the Herosaurus, and a perforate a, acetabellum or hip socket with a hole at the center of its inside surface. Um, Now, another difficulty of determining distinctly dinosaurian features is that early dinosaurs and other archosaurs from the late Triassic epoch are often poorly known and were similar in many ways. These animals have sometimes been misidentified in the literature. Now, dinosaurs usually stand with their hind limbs. Oh shit! Something dropped here. Okay, so most dinosaurs stand with their hind limbs erect in a manner similar to most modern mammals, but distinct from most other reptiles, whose limbs sprawl out to either side. This posture is due to the development of a laterally facing recess in the pelvis, usually an open socket, and a corresponding inwardly facing distinct head in the femur. Now, their erect posture enabled early dinosaurs to breathe easily while moving, which likely permitted the stamina and activity levels that surpassed those of sprawling reptiles. Now, the erect limbs probably also helped support the evolution of a large size by reducing bending stresses on limbs. Some non-dinosaurian archosaurs, including the Rauisuchians, also had erect limbs, but achieved this by a pillar erect configuration at the hip joint, where instead of having a projection from the femur insert on the hip socket, the upper pelvic bone was rotated to form an overchanging shelf. Okay, so dinosaur fossils have been known for millennia, although their true nature was not recognized until now. Chinese authors have long recognized remains of prehistoric animals as dragon bones. Um, Hwang Gaozi, a gaze here, compiled by Cheng Qiu during the Western Jin Dynasty, which was from 265 to 316, had reported the discovery of the dragon bones at Weisheng and in the Sichuan province. These dragon bones were and still are often used as ingredients for remedies in traditional Chinese medicine. Now, while these dragon bones have often popularly been claimed to be dinosaur bones, all known historical examples of vertebrate dragon bones from China are actually from the Cenozoic mammals. However, a village in Henan, central China, was reported in 2007 to have spent the previous several decades excavating and using real dinosaur bones as dragon bones for TCM purposes. Um, in Europe, dinosaur fossils were generally believed to be the remains of giants and other biblical creatures. Hmm. Now, scholarly descriptions of what would now be recognized as dinosaur bones first appeared in the late 17th century in England. Now, part of a bone, now known to have been the femur of a megalosaurus, was recovered from a limestone quarry at Cornwall near Chipping Norton, Oxfordshire, England, in 1676. Now, this fragment was sent to a guy named Robert Plot, who was a professor of chemistry at the University of Oxford and the first curator of the Orleans Museum, who published a description in the Natural History of Oxfordshire in 1677. He correctly identified the bone as a lower extremity of the femur of a large animal and recognized that it was too large to belong to any known species. He therefore concluded it to be the femur of a huge human, perhaps a titan or another type of a giant featured in legends. Like Edward Leod, a friend of Sir Isaac Newton, published a book in 1699, the first scientific treatment of what would now be recognized as a dinosaur. Now, in it, he described and named a sauropod tooth, the Rutellum implicatum, that had been found in. Now, back between the years 1815 and 1824, the Reverend William Buckland, the first reader of geology at the University of Oxford, had collected more fossilized bones of the Megalosaurus and became the first person to describe non-avian dinosaurs in a scientific journal. The second non-avian dinosaur genus to be identified, the Iguanodon, was purportedly discovered in 1822 by Mary Ann Mantell, who was the wife of English geologist Gideon Mantell, although this is disputed, and some historians say Gideon had acquired remains years earlier, and Gideon Mantell recognized similarities between his fossils and the bones of modern iguanas, and published that in his findings in 1825. Now, the study of these great fossil lizards soon became of great interest to European and American scientists, and in the year 1842, the English paleontologist Sir Richard Owen coined the term dinosaur, using it to refer to the distinct tribe or suborder of the saurian reptiles that were then recognized in England and around the world. The term is derived from ancient Greek, meaning terrible, potent, or fearfully great, and sauros, which means lizard or reptile. Now, though the taxonomic name has often been interpreted as a reference to dinosaurs' teeth, claws, and other fearsome characters, Owen intended it also to evoke their size and majesty. Um, and Owen recognized that the remains that had been found so far were the iguanodon, the megalosaurus, and the Hylaeosaurus, shared distinctive features, and so decided to present them as a distinct taxonomic group, as clarified by British geologist and historian Hugh Torrens. Owen had given a presentation about fossil reptiles to the British Association for the Advancement of Science in 1841, but reports of the time show that Owen did not mention the word dinosaur nor recognize dinosaurs as a distinct group of reptiles in his address. Now, he introduced the Dinosauria in the revised text version of his talk, published around 1842. Now, with the backing of Prince Albert, the husband of Queen Victoria, Owen established the Natural History Museum in London to display the national collection of dinosaur fossils and other biological and geological exhibits. In the year 1858, um, William Parker Folk discovered that the first known American dinosaur in Merle pits in the smaller town of Haddonfield, New Jersey, although fossils had been found before, their nature had not been correctly discerned. Um, the creature was named Hadrosaurus Fulci. It was an extremely important find. Hadrosaurus is one of the first nearly complete dinosaur skeletons found. The first one was in 1834 in Maidstone, England, and it was clearly a bipedal creature. This was a revolutionary discovery, as well as until that point, most scientists had believed dinosaurs walked on 4 feet like other lizards. Um, Now, Folk's discovery sparked a wave of interest in dinosaurs in the United States known as dinosaur mania. Dinosaur mania was exemplified by the fierce rivalry between Edward Drinker Cope and Charles Marsh, both of whom raced to be the first to find new dinosaurs in what became known as the Bone Wars. That's actually a fucking thing. Oh, okay. Never even fucking heard of that. This fight between the two scientists lasted for over 30 years, ending in 1897 when Cope died, spending his entire fortune on the dinosaur hunt. Many valuable dinosaur specimens were damaged or destroyed due to the pair's rough methods. For example, their diggers often used dynamite to unearth bones, which you're not supposed to do. Um, so modern paleontologists would find such methods crude and unacceptable, since blasting easily destroys fossil and stratigraphic evidence. Despite their unrefined methods, the contributions of Cope and Marsh to paleontology were vast. Marsh unearthed 86 new species of dinosaurs, and Cope discovered 56, a total of 142 new species. Cope's collection is now at the American Museum of Natural History in New York City, while Marsh's is at the Peabody Museum of Natural History at Yale University. When World War II broke out, it caused a pause in paleontological research. After the war, research attention was also diverted increasingly to fossil mammals rather than dinosaurs, which were seen as sluggish and cold-blooded. At the time, at the end of the 1960s, however, the field of dinosaur research experienced a surge in activity that remains ongoing. Several seminal studies led to this activity. Now, first, John Ostrom discovered the bird-like Dromaeosaurid theropod, the Denon Cus, and he described it in 1969. Its anatomy indicated that it was an active predator that was likely warm-blooded, and marked contrast to the then prevailing image of dinosaurs. Concurrently, Robert T. Backer published a series of studies that likewise argued for active lifestyles in dinosaurs based on the anatomical and ecological evidence. And this was subsequently summarized in the 1986 book called Dinosaur Heresies. Um, new revelations were supported by an increase in dinosaur discoveries, and major new dinosaur discoveries have been made by paleontologists. Now, working in previously unexplored regions, including India, South America, Madagascar, Antarctica, and most significantly China, across theropods, sauropodomorphs, and ornithischians, the number of named genre began to increase drastically in the 1980s, in the 1990s, and so on. Um, In 2008, over 30 new species of dinosaurs were each year. At least sauropodomorphs experienced a further increase in the number of named species in the 2010s, with an average of 9.3 new species having been named each year between 2009 and 2020. Um, as a consequence, more sauropodomorphs were named between 1990 and 2020 than in all previous years combined. These new localities are also led to improvements in overall specimen quality, with new species being increasingly named not on scrappy fossils but on more complete skeletons, sometimes from multiple individuals. Better specimens also lead to new species being invalidated less frequently. Asian localities have produced the most complete theropod specimens, while North American localities have produced the most complete theropodomorph specimens. Prior to the dinosaur renaissance, dinosaurs were mostly classified being using the traditional rank-based system of the Linnean taxonomy. The Renaissance was also accompanied by the increasingly widespread application of cladistics, a more objective method of classification based on ancestry and shared traits, um, which has proved tremendously useful in the study of dinosaurs systematics and evolution. Now, the cladistic analysis, among other techniques, helps to compensate for an often incomplete and fragmentary fossil record. Reference books summarizing the state of dinosaur research, such as David B. Weishampel and colleagues at Dinosauria, made knowledge more accessible, and it spurred further interest in dinosaur. Now, the release of the first and second editions of the Dinosauria in 1990 and 2004, and of a review paper by Paul Sereno in 1998, they were accompanied by increases in the number of published phylogenetic trees for dinosaurs. Now, dinosaur fossils are not limited to just the bones, but they also include imprints of mineralized remains of skin coverings, organs, and other tissues. Now, of these skin coverings based on the keratin proteins and are most easily preserved because of their cross-linked hydrophobic mo- molecular structure. Fossils of keratin-based skin coverings are bony skin coverings are known from most major groups of dinosaurs. Dinosaur fossils with scaly skin impressions have been found since the 19th century. Samuel Beckles discovered a sauropod forelimb with a preserved skin in 1852 that was incorrectly attributed to a crocodile. It was correctly attributed by Marsh in 1888 and subject to further study by Reginald Hooley in 1917. Um, among the Ornithischians in 1884, Jacob Wortman had found skin impressions on the first known specimen of the Taurus, which were largely destroyed during the specimen's excavation. Owen and Hooley subsequently described skin impressions of the Hypsilon and the Iguanodon in 1885 and 1917. But since then, scale impressions have been mostly frequently found among the Hadrosaurids, where the impressions are known from nearly the entire body across multiple specimens. Now, starting in the 1990s, major discoveries of exceptionally preserved fossils and deposits, such as the conservation lagostatin, contributed to research on dinosaur soft tissues. Now, chiefly among these were the rocks that produced the early Cretaceous period and the mid to late Jurassic period. Biotas of northeastern China, from which hundreds of dinosaur specimens bearing impressions of feather-like structures, both are which are closely related to birds and otherwise. You can see the origin of birds have been described by Xing Zhu and colleagues. In the living reptiles and mammals, pigment storing cellular structures known as the melan- melanosomes are partially responsible for producing coloration. Now, both chemical traces of melanin and characteristically shaped melanosomes have been reported from feathers and scales of the Cretaceous and the Triassic period, including um, both theropods and ornithischians, and this has enabled multiple full body reconstructions of dinosaur coloration, such as for the Sinosauropteryx and the Psittacosaurus by Jacob Binther and colleagues, and similar techniques have also been extended to dinosaur fossils from other localities. However, some researchers have also suggested that fossilized the melanosomes or melanosomes present bacterial remains, stomach contents in both Jurassic and the in the Jurassic and the Cretaceous period, dinosaurs closely related to birds have also provided indirect indications of diets and digestive system. The anatomy, like crops, and more concrete evidence of internal anatomy has been reported in Italy, and it preserves portions of the intestines, the colon, the liver, muscles, and white and windpipe. Now, dinosaurs have diverged from their archosaur ancestors during the middle to late Triassic periods, roughly about 20 million years ago, after the devastating Permian Triassic extinction event wiped out an estimated 96% of all marine species and 70% of the terrestrial vertebrate species approximately 250 million years ago. Um, okay, so when dinosaurs appeared, they were not the dominant terrestrial animals. The terrestrial habitats were occupied by various types of archosauromorphs and theropods, like the cynodonts and the Rancosaurs. Their main competitors were the pseudosuchians, such as the Allosaurs, the Ornithosuchids, and the Roysuchians, which were the most successful than the dinosaurs. Most of these other animals became extinct in the Triassic and one of two events. First, at about 215 million years ago, a variety of basal archosaurs, including the Protosaurus, became extinct, and this was followed by the Triassic extinction event about 201 million years ago, and that saw the end of the other groups of early archosaurs like Allosaurus and the Ornithosuchids. Now, when it comes to Ranxars um, and the Gynodots survived at least in some areas. Now, at least as early to mid Norian and late Norian and the earliest Cretacean stages, respectively, and the exact date of their extinction is uncertain and not known. Um, but these fossils left behind a land fauna of crocodilomorphs, dinosaurs, mammals, pterosaurians and turtles. The first few lines of early dinosaurs traversed through the Carnian and Norian stages of the Triassic, possibly by occupying the niches of the group that became extinct. Also, notably, there was a heightened rate of extinction during the Carnian pluvial event. Dinosaur evolution after the Triassic followed changes in vegetation and the location of Triassic and early Jurassic period. The continents were connected as the single landmass Pangaea, and there was a worldwide dinosaur fauna mostly composed of col- um cyphoid carnivores and early sauropomorph herbivores. Um, no, gymnosperm plants, particularly conifers, which was a potential food source, radiated in the late Triassic period. Early sauropomorphs did not have sophisticated mechanisms for processing food in the mouth, and so they must have employed other means of breaking down food farther along the digestive tract. The general homogeneity of dinosaurian faunas continued into the middle and late Jurassic period, where most localities had predators consisting of the Ceratorsians, megalosaurids, and the allosaurids, and herbivores consisting of Stegosaurian, um, Ornithischians, and the large sauropod. Um, Examples of this include the Morrison Formation of the North America and the Tendo-Gurul beds of Tanzania. Dinosaurs in China show some differences with specialized um, theropods and unusual long-necked sauropods. Um, Ankylosaurians and ornithopods also becoming more common. But primitive sauropodomorphs had become extinct. Conifers and pterodites were the most common plants. Sauropods, like earlier sauropodomorphs, were not oral processors, but the Ornithischians were involving various means of dealing with the food in the mouth, including potential cheek-like organs to keep food in the mouth and jaw motions to grind food. Another notable revolutionary event in the Jurassic was the appearance of true birds descended from Colosaurians. By the early Cretaceous period, the ongoing breakup of Pangaea, dinosaurs were becoming strongly differentiated by landmass. The earliest part of this time saw the spread of the Ankylosaurians, the Iguanodontians, and the Brachiosaurids through Europe, North America, and Northern Africa. These were later supplemented or replaced in Africa by a large Spinosaurid and whatever and so on and so on. Now, at one point, meanwhile, Australia was home to a fauna of basal ankylosaurians, the the hypso and the iguanodons. The stegosaurians appear to have gone extinct at some point in the early Cretaceous or early late Cretaceous period, but a major change in the early Cretaceous, which would be amplified in the late Cretaceous, was the evolution of flowering plants. At the same time, several groups of dinosaurian sophisticated ways to orally process food, and the ceratopsians developed a method of slicing with teeth stacked on each other and batteries, um, and the method had refined a method of grinding with dental batteries taken to its extreme and hadrosaurids. Some sauropods also involved tooth batteries, best exemplified by the Nigrosaurus. Um, Okay, I'm gonna go, but I'm gonna continue this video next week with a part two, and I'll see you guys next week. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you want more videos like this.